Hi everyone, this is Noelle at Petitti Garden Centers in Oakwood Village, and it's winter, and what's better to bring nature in by bringing in some houseplants? Well, we talked earlier about different types of houseplants and sort of low light levels, easy care stuff, and so I wanted to kind of do a little bit more focused group on low light houseplants. So this is what I have in front of me, just a small selection, just so you can see what we have to offer, but lots of different types of plants here. What you will notice in low light areas in your home or in your office, it's usually an area that has no windows, or if you do have windows, they're very far away, or they might be smaller, or they actually might be dirty. And that's okay, because that does reduce your light levels on your plants, and these plants actually prefer it that way. The low light that we talk about is low indirect lighting. It is usually 8 to 10 foot away from a sunny window, so that could be northern, eastern, western, or southern window. And typically they can be used in hallways, in dark corners, all those types of areas, okay? What you've probably noticed is that there's not a lot of color or pigmentation in the foliage. There's not a lot of flowering either. The reason being is you just don't have enough energy, or the plants don't have enough energy to produce flowers, and if that, bright flowers or bright colors. So again, this is going to be more foliage type plants, but you always want to consider the differences in the foliage. Some are thicker, some are glossier, some are more fern leaf. So when you play with all those different textures of foliage, that always makes a really interesting indoor houseplant area. So the first one that I had mentioned in our easy houseplant care is this ZZ plant. It really is one of the easiest plants for low light. Again, very drought tolerant too, okay? The one in front of me is really up and coming. This is actually what we call a bird's nest fern, or a asplenium, but let's just stick with the bird's nest fern. And this plant actually is one of your easiest care ferns, low light to actually medium indirect light. This plant, as long as you are a better waterer, that their soil likes to stay evenly moist, and even some spray misting to increase the humidity is always good with the bird's nest ferns or most fern family inside. This big one right here is actually a Chinese evergreen. This is a newer variety. It has that pink edge on its foliage. It also has pink stems, so it's really very ornamental. Chinese evergreens come in a lot of different green shades, various different varieties there, but they're basically just a foliage plant. Every once in a while you'll start to see them flower, so they produce what we call a spath type flower. It's just one little petal, if you will, and they'll pop up every once in a while, okay? So Chinese evergreen, really good option. And again, keeping them on the drier side of watering. When you just start to see them wilt, that's a good time to re-water, and they'll perk back up for you. This is actually a Neanth Bella palm, and this is one of the only palms that will grow in low light levels. They're very petite, they're very cute. They really don't take on that huge typical palm size that you would think of, but they're nice as a table plant. They can be a shorter floor plant, and they do very, very well in that low light area. On the side here, I have a peace lily, and this one right now is not blooming, and that happens especially in winter. Sometimes they just don't have enough light energy to really produce those blooms for you, and that's okay. Peace lily has beautiful, glossy, medium green leaves, and they have a natural watering indicator. So when they do get dry, their leaves wilt. You go ahead and thoroughly moisten that soil, and then their leaves will perk back up again. Just be careful. If you overwater this plant, the leaves will also wilt. So make sure that you're on the drier side of watering. Maybe lift the pot up, see if it's really light, and then you'll know, go ahead and water again. The last one that I forgot to mention that's kind of up here in front, this is a Sansevieria. You might know it as snake plant or mother-in-law's tongue as well. And what's interesting about this plant, you might be familiar with it, but it has really changed in the last few years. There's a lot more varieties, a lot more variegations, heights and all different types of leaves. So again, look for the snake plant. It's a very easy low light houseplant to take care of. This guy is just a braided cylindrical type, which is very neat, very unusual, but a nice little specimen to put in just on an office desk, you know, again, where maybe you're in a cubicle or an enclosed office and you don't have a lot of, you know, sunlight from the windows. It doesn't matter with any of these. They'll do very, very well. One last thing that I wanted to mention with the low light plants again is that they'll work in that hard to read by light. So again, lower light levels. And we find that a lot in office spaces. And the more plants you can put in your office space, the better your creativity, your productivity, creative ideas, creative thought, all of that comes with bringing houseplants into that space. And it's a lot to do with that increased oxygen around you. So if you wanna, you know, have a better mood at the office and definitely get more creative and more productive at the office, houseplants are really the way to go. So check out these low light houseplants at a Petitti's near you. Enjoy.